Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Ruby, and she had a friend called Billy. And this is a story about Billy and his sheep. You see, Billy was Ruby's best friend at school, and one playtime when they were sitting in the sandpit, Billy told Ruby about his sheep and about how the sheep had gone missing and how he'd looked for the sheep for days and days and days, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, the sheep came back. Do you want to hear the story? Well, this is what Billy told Ruby. Once upon a time, when it was about March, April or May, Billy wasn't sure because he doesn't really keep track of what month it is, but it was just when the birds were starting to sing and the sun was starting to get a bit warmer and the flowers were just about to pop up from the green grass. Grandad would go and pick mushrooms, and then one day the dog was barking, and it was Grandad coming back in his pickup truck. "We've got one!" "Got one what?" thought Billy. "Quick, put your wellies on!" Billy always did what his Grandad said, because his Grandad was his Grandad, and you got to do what your Grandad says. So he jumped out of his bed, put his wellies on and his jacket on, and jumped in the pickup. "Where are we going to, Grandad?" "A sheep's going to have a baby. It's going to be lambing." "Oh, really?" Billy had heard about this, but he was a bit younger last year and he couldn't really go to see a sheep having a baby. But he'd seen the lambs last year, and his mum wouldn't let him go into the pen to play with them because he was still a bit too small and he might fall over and hurt himself. But now he was a bigger boy, he's got his own wellies, and he was travelling in the pickup with his Grandad, and he was so excited he was bouncing up and down, trying to look out the window, but he was still a bit small to see out the window. "Go on then, open that gate." "Huh? I've never opened a gate before." "Just go and lift that latch and swing on it. Hold it while I drive through." So he opened the gate, he lifted the latch, and he swung on the gate and he thought he was going to catapult across the field. The gate hit his chest and he said, "Oh, blinky neck, is this what it's like to open a gate?" Grandad drove through the gate and he said, "Right, jump back in. Just leave it open. We'll close it when we come back." They travelled all the way down the field, and there Billy could see a little white dot at the bottom. So anyway, they were getting closer and closer, and Grandad said, "Ready?" And they jumped out of the pickup. Grandad went to the back of the pickup and put some things on his arms that looked like Nana's stockings. "What's that?" "I'm going to help this sheep have a baby." Well, Billy could not believe his eyes, and he thought he was going to be sick. He was all seeing all that blood. "Oh my gosh, what's that?" He had to turn away. And anyway, before he knew it, Grandad had a little baby sheep in his hands. He's saying, "Come on, Billy, let's take it back to the farm, give it some milk." And Grandad put the sheep and the lamb back in the back of the pickup truck. You look after them." And he threw Billy in the back with the sheep and the lamb. Well, Billy didn't know what to do, so he kept hold of the lamb, and Grandad put some milk in there, so he was feeding the lamb all the way back up the bumpy road. "Don't worry, I'll close the gate behind us," said Grandad, and they got back to the farm. And Grandad showed Billy how to give this little lamb some milk and look after it, because its mum was a bit sick. They put it in the shed with a big warm light, even though it was a bit warm. Grandad said it was cold at night, so that's why they had to do it. And then Billy was in charge of this lamb, making sure it was fed 5 times a day. Luckily, he was off school on his spring holiday, so it was a week of looking after this lamb every single day. Grandad would wake him up in the morning. "Come on, lad, let's go and feed the lamb." Take him across, mix up the milk, and just leave him to it. "When you finish, leave it there and go back in the house, wash your hands, have your breakfast." And that's what he did. Before lunch, Grandad would take him out again. You know how to mix this milk? And by the end of the week, he was mixing the milk, getting up by himself, feeding the lambs, going back, washing his hands, and having his breakfast with his whole family. Well, when Billy got back to school, he was so delighted. He drew a big picture for the teacher and wrote a little bit about it. Every day when he came back from school, he would go to the sheep and see the lamb and feed her. He couldn't do it in the morning because he had to go to school, but he would do it when he came back, and he would do it all the weekend. And every day, slowly, surely, he saw the little lamb grow bigger and bigger and bigger. He loved that little lamb like it was a little pet, and he would take it for walks around the farm. And the little lamb would chase him, and he would chase the lamb, and the lamb would chase him, and he would chase the lamb. And he went round and around and around, all that till it got dark. Until his mom shouted, Billy, come in for your supper. Put that sheep away. Mom, it's not a sheep yet, it's a lamb, still a baby. It's a sheep, actually. Anyway, it got to the point where Billy was so fond of this sheep, he would take it in the house, sit it on a chair, and it would watch him have his dinner. And then he would watch it eat his dinner. One day, Billy said, Mom, can I keep this as a pet? Well, it kind of is your pet now, isn't it? But has it got a name? Said Mum. Well, I'm just going to call it Lamb. Lamb? Okay. Is it all right with you, Lamb? Bah, said the lamb. So that was it. They were quite happy being friends, or pet and owner, if you like. And Billy looked after this sheep. Now it was a sheep. Until it was bigger than him. Well, Mum and Dad were getting a bit worried because, little kids shouldn't really have sheep as big as them running around the house because they can kick and they can hurt you. But this one was really nice and calm, and it was Billy's best friend. Soon it was travelling to school with him on the bus. Well, he travelled once and the teacher didn't let him back. Don't bring that thing into my school, said the headmaster. It's not a thing, it's a sheep. Does it have a name? Yeah, it's called Lamb. Don't bring it back, said the teacher. All right. And Grandad had to come back to the school to pick it up. Anyway, that is not the most important part of this story. Because when Billy was telling Ruby this story at school, this is the part that he almost started to cry again. Because every time he thought about it, he was feeling a bit sad. Do you want to know? Well, one day, when Billy came back from school, I think it was on a Friday, he jumped off the bus, ran home, washed his face, got a snack, put his wellies on, and went out to feed the lamb. Or lamb, should I say, as usual. But it wasn't there. Its gate was open, and nobody knew where it had gone. Grandad, have you seen lamb? No. Dad, have you seen lamb? No. Mum, have you seen lamb? No. Hey chickens, have you seen lamb? No. Hey doggy, have you seen lamb? You haven't eaten him, have you? No, said the doggy. Oh my gosh. Grandad, can you take me in a tractor to have a look for lamb? Aye. So Grandad took Billy on that big blue tractor all around the fields, every field they had. Billy was an expert at opening the gates now, so he opened all the gates and closed them on the way out, but they couldn't find lamb. Billy, it's bedtime. You haven't even had your supper. But where's lamb? Look for him tomorrow, because you're not at school. We'll have a look. It'll be all right. So anyway, Billy went to bed without supper that day. He wasn't even hungry. He was so worried about lamb. He couldn't sleep. And in the middle of the night, he did something he thought he would never do. He put his wellies on, unlocked the door, and went outside to look for lamb. in the middle of the night. It was pitch black on that farm on the top of the hill, and he was able, luckily, to get into the garage and pick out Dad's big lamp or torch, because he'd seen Dad use it a few times. He turned it on. It was like a laser beam of bright light shining all over the fields, and he didn't know what to do with it. It was kind of like a bit heavy and a bit weird, but anyway, he wanted to find the lamb, so he tried to look for it. He didn't know where he was going, so went down the lawn, and he shone the light in all the fields and in the trees even. And he thought to himself, Lamb's not going to climb a tree, is he? But there he was, in a tree, shivering like mad, because it was cold that night. So anyway, he went and opened the gates. He walked down the field, and he kept his light on this lamb. "Bah," said Lamb. "How can I get down?" "How can you get down? How did you get up?" "I don't know. I was running away from a wolf, and I tried to climb the tree, and I think I just climbed it." "Well," he said, "just you wait here. I'll have a think about it." So Billy went back to the house, and he ratched in the garage, and he found some tarpaulin, and he went back down and he laid it on the ground. It looked like it was going to be all right. "Jump," said Billy. "I'm scared," said Lamb. Anyway, Billy said, "If you don't jump, you're going to freeze to death," with his Liverpudlian accent. Anyway, because Lamb had grown up with Billy, he trusted him 100%. So he jumped, and bang, landed on his back on the hard grass. You see, Billy was only like 4 years old, maybe 5, and he didn't even know that putting something on the ground, it has to be soft. The sheep moaned and groaned, "Ow, my back!" But eventually he got up, and the two of them walked back to the farm. The sheep was freezing cold and shivering, so Billy took it in the house and gave it a wash, gave it some food, and he had his supper as well that he hadn't had the night before, and took it to bed, and they both snuggled up with a nice water bottle and fell asleep. In the morning, Grandad came in and said, "Oh, I see you found your lamb." "Yes," said Billy. "Come on in, let's go for breakfast. And by the way, Lamb's going to have a little brother." And they both put their wellies on and jumped in the pickup truck. The end.